Hello everyone, let's look at Leetcode question 1252, cells with odd values in a matrix. In this question, we start with three different input values. And the first two input values are the m by n matrix, initialized to all zeros. The m represents the rows, and the n represents the columns of the matrix. The third input value is a two-dimensional array called indices, where each index represents the zero index location incrementation. What this basically means, at the index Ri will be a value. If it's 0, 1, or 2, it will go to the row number and increment by 1. The same is true for C. Finally, we want to return the number of odd-valued cells in the matrix after applying the incrementation to all locations. So let's look at some examples. So in this first example, we have our three input values, m equals 2, n equals 3. So there's 2 rows and 3 columns in this matrix, 2 by 3. And remember, they're all assigned 0 by default. Next, we look at indices. Here we have 0, 1, and 1, 1. Let's remember that the first value of the array is for columns, and the second for rows. So here, let's look at the first example. We loop through the indices. The first value is 0. This is the first value for rows. So we go to row 0 and add 1 to all the values at row 0. Next, we go to the value of 1. And this is for columns, because it's the second value. And remember, they are defined as row column, R-I-C-I. So here it's column, and we want 1 location, 1. So we go to column 1, and we add 1. 1 becomes 2, 0 becomes 1. We go to the next value, and remember the first is for rows. And it's 1 this time, so we go to location 1 for rows, and we add 1. 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 2, 0 becomes 1. Finally, we have the final value respected for columns, and we add 1, and we return the number of odd-valued cells. That is 6. Here in this next example, we have a 2 by 2. And the indices 1, 1, 0, 0. Pretty straightforward now. We go to row number 1, increment by 1. Next it asks column 1, increment by 1. Row 0, incremented by 1. Column 0, incremented by 1. Number of odd-valued cells, 0. Let's look at the code. First thing we do is define the rows and columns for the matrix m by n, with all values starting at 0. Next, we loop through the indices, RC, incrementing values by 1 at the respected locations, rows R, column C. Finally, we define odd sum and loop through every cell in the matrix. We check if the cell is an odd value, and if it is, we add 1 to the odd sum. Finally, we return odd sum. Very good. Finally, the time complexity is O m times n. The reason being, the first loop iterates through the indices O of m time. Then for these nested loops, we have O m times n time because the first loop iterates through the rows list of length m, and the second loop loops through the columns list of length n. So the time complexity is O m times n. And the space complexity is O m plus n. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching.